Okay, today I am reviewing Agatha Christie's first novel written in 1920. It's called The Mysterious Affair at Styles, and it features her most famous detective, Hercule Poirot. Okay, one of the most significant things about this book, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, is the fact that it introduces us to Christie's most famous detective, the Belgian sleuth Hercule Poirot, who's described in here as being a short man with an egg-shaped head, immaculate dresser, a neat freak. He waxes his mustache so the points either curl or go straight. He's a bit of a dandy. And he's created as kind of a contrast to Sherlock Holmes, who Christie was a big fan of. And we also have a counterpart to Watson in the character of Captain Hastings, who also happens to be the narrator of the book. He is much stupider than Watson, and he likes to think of himself as a ladies' man. So he's often swayed by his emotions. He acts as a nice bridge between us and Poirot, because Poirot generally has things figured out and is just working through particulars through the early part of the novel. Hastings is always looking at the same facts and coming to the exact opposite conclusion as Poirot, and we're somewhere in the middle, so having someone who's stupider than us doesn't make us feel so bad as we read the story. There's a lot to like in this story, Mysterious Affair at Styles. Okay, the first thing about Mysterious Affair at Styles, it's a locked room mystery. This means the murder takes place under seemingly impossible circumstances. In our story, the woman who's the victim is murdered in her bedroom. There are 3 doors into her bedroom. They're all bolted from the inside. So people are trying to figure out how the heck someone got in and put strychnine in her coffee or her cocoa. We don't know which at first. And by the time they break down the doors, she's convulsing in her last moments of life. And poisons are a big, very popular murder weapon with Christie because she worked as a pharmacist during the First and Second World Wars, and she knew a lot about poisons. You'll often see characters who are pharmacists or dispensers, as they're called in her books. You have a mistrust of foreigners. The characters in the books generally don't trust Poirot. They might find him charming or funny or amusing, but they don't always know how to take him. Sometimes that makes him seem less of a threat, and so Poirot will play up his foreignness in order to get more information out of people. There are love triangles between the young people, and actually love and whether a marriage relationship particularly is going to work out or not becomes an important theme in Christie. And we even see it early on in this first novel. In the last couple pages of the book, Poirot says this. He says, the happiness of one man and one woman is the greatest thing in all the world. I think this is Christie's own viewpoint, or something that she wished would happen, and we'll see how that plays out both in her life and in her later novels. One of the most interesting aspects of this novel for me is something that plays out in a lot of her works. Christie enters into a manipulation with the audience right away, even in this early novel. What she does is she takes everyday occurrences, behaviors of people, overheard conversations, fragments of notes, and she explores all the possible meanings of these things. So we don't know how to interpret these signs that become clues. Are they real clues or are they not real clues? So we have to really think on our feet with Christie, and she was very masterful at taking something that 99% of most people will look at and see in one particular way and going in a completely different direction with it. Okay, the other thing that I really get jazzed about when I read Christie, and that comes up in this book, is the fact that in it she talks a lot about psychology and human behavior, and particularly how people are pretty patterned in their behavior. Christie's sometimes accused of creating characters who are too patterned. But then what she does is she has, with her murderers, a kind of dependency on people's behaviors. People who commit crimes in her novels are counting on people to behave in a certain way so that their plans can go through, either to murder or steal something. And generally what happens is that just when people should be behaving in a normal way, they alter their plans for some reason or other, or there's some action that causes everything to go differently, which generally ends up complicating matters for the police and leading to the murderer having to cover the tracks in a completely different way. And so the plot immediately takes a detour from the way that the murderer had intended it to go. So you could almost call the murderer of each novel really the author of the plot, but Christie is pulling these godlike strings above the characters and having the characters act in different ways that alter that plot. Okay, next time I'm going to be reviewing Agatha Christie's second novel, written in 1922, The Secret Adversary. See you then.